Hello students, this is again another episode in the history of economic thought. We will continue with the Keynesian economics which we finished in the last episode, and leaving from the liquidity preference, we will now come to liquidity trap, which Keynes has emphasized. Because of fear of capital losses on assets besides money, because I have invested in other assets also, Keynes suggested that there may be a liquidity trap setting a floor under which interest rates cannot fall. So, liquidity trap means that shortage of money may occur, shortage of cash may occur. In this trap, bond holders, fearing rise in interest rates because interest rates are so low, fear capital losses on their bonds and thus try to sell them to attain money. So, liquidity. This phenomena implies that after the rate of interest has fallen to a certain level, liquidity preference may become virtually obsolete. So, that means that the liquidity preference, that is for holding that much of cash, it becomes absolute in the sense that everyone prefers cash to holding a debt which yields so low a rate of interest. In this event, the monetary authorities have lost effective control over the rate of interest. Whereas the classical economists assumed that the level of output and income was constant at given rate of time, Keynes saw this as the key variable that adjusted adequate savings and equated this savings to investment. Finally, a recession undermines the business incentive to engage in fixed investment. So, fixed investment is like buying machinery, buying buildings. All these investments will not take place because recession has taken place, and in this recession business incentives are not there for making further more investment in the fixed investment or fixed capital. With falling incomes and demand for products, the desired demand for factories, equipment will also fall. Housing, nobody wants to buy a house today because recession is there. I do not have the income, I do not have the money. Even if the price of houses are falling, people are not purchasing it. Now, this was said by Keynes so many years earlier. In 1936, when he wrote his book, he mentioned all these facts, that falling incomes and the falling demand for products, that will reduce investments in the economy. This accelerator would shift the I line to the left again. So, even the investment will go back, there will be no positive or increased investment taking place. It creates the problem of excessive savings and encourages the recession to continue. So, again recessions will go on, further go down, the economy will keep on going down from recession to highly depression period, and then economy cannot be brought back. In some analysis or total analysis, to Keynes, there is an interaction between excess supply in different markets as unemployment in labor markets encourages excessive savings and vice versa. So, because there is different markets are there, different supplies are there, interactions are taking place. So, unemployment in the labor market, because people are not employed, people are lying idle, this will encourage more and more savings for themselves, because they do not know whether they will get income in the future, and more savings, more and more cash if you keep with yourselves, then there is no cash available for investment or loanable purposes, and nobody can then come for investment. And if nobody invests, employment cannot be generated. Now, this is the crux of Keynesian analysis, that only investment can generate employment. Hence, if private sector is not coming, what Keynes later advocated was that government has to come forward and then they have to make that investment. Rather than prices adjusting to attain equilibrium, the main story is one of quantity adjustment, allowing recessions and possible attainment of underemployment equilibrium. So, you have underemployment, very less employment, that equilibrium takes place during recession period. This is a cartoon, a slide in which we see the Keynesian struggle is shown. the stocks are there, the money exchequer is there, the a common person is standing at the back, does not know what to do. He is holding all in his hand. Now, we come to another concept which Keynes has given, is the marginal efficiency of capital. Now, we all know what capital is. Capital, which is money, which is used, investment. What is the marginal efficiency of capital? We also know what is marginalism, that is the last unit that we invest or that we consume. Then marginal efficiency. If capital is efficient, how is it efficient? Because capital earns a rate of interest. If I have money, if I have capital, I go and put it in the bank gives me a rate of interest. So, capital earns a rate of interest. Then what is the efficiency of that capital? Is it able to earn large amount of interest, or does it earn only a small amount of interest? Or if it is the rate of interest, if I am an investor, the rate of interest is low, then I will borrow more. If the rate of interest is very high, I will borrow less. Alternatively, if I am the person who saved and I put it in the bank, only when the interest is high, then only I will part with that cash. So, what is the reward that I get from capital? That is known as marginal efficiency of capital. This was developed by Keynes, and the marginal efficiency of capital describes the rate of discount. Discount means the return, the rate of return or discount, which would make the present value of expected income from fixed capital assets equal to the present supply price of the asset. So, what is the supply price of the asset today, and what is the expected income that I get on that capital? That is the rate of return, that is the marginal efficiency of capital. As investment increases, the rate of returns decreases, because early investment was directed at the most lucrative possibilities. So, when I am the first investor in the economy, I will get the maximum returns, because there are so many opportunities and I am investing in those. But more and more people come to know about this, more and more investments are taking place. What will happen? The rewards will be less, and then again the same efficiency will go down. So, this is what Keynes has said, that if first the rate of returns are very high, then ultimately it starts decreasing when more and more investments start taking place in the economy. Subsequent investment is channeled into less promising areas and the returns diminish. So, the person who has invested in the opportunity which is giving the maximum initially, more and more people are investing, will not get the same returns, and then the marginal efficiency decreases. Keynes defined the internal rate of return as the marginal efficiency of capital. So, what is the internal rate of return on the capital which you are getting as an investor or as a consumer, or when you have given the as a saver to the bank? That is known as the marginal efficiency, particularly from the investor point of view, is what Keynes has emphasized. Later economist Aba Lerner in 1953 more accurately renamed it and called it the marginal efficiency of investment. So, it is not marginal efficiency of capital, but it is marginal efficiency of investment. In short, it is known as MEI. MEI refers to as marginal efficiency of investment. So, capital is what the investor has taken. How he invests this capital? So, it is the return on the investment, not the return on the capital. I may take the capital and keep it with me, I do not get a return, but once I have invested this capital and on that investment I get a rate of return, I get internal rate of return, a reward, that is the marginal efficiency of investment. Keynes defined it as, I define the marginal efficiency of capital as being equal to the rate of discount which would make the present value of series of annuities as it is coming, given by the returns expected from the capital asset during its life, just equal to its supply price. So, when the supply price is the rate of return, rate of interest, and when you have invested, you have got a better rate of interest on it or more returns on it, then that is the discount or that is the marginal efficiency of capital. Any capital asset can be valued in two ways. First, the supply price, which depends on the cost of producing that asset. So, what is the supply price when you have invested and capital asset? What is the cost involved in building that asset? Second, the demand price, which depends on what entrepreneurs expect to make from using that asset. The marginal efficiency of capital is the difference between expected yield on one more unit of the type of asset and the cost of producing that unit. So, the last unit, the marginal unit you get in producing that, what is the cost involved in that unit and what is the return you get from that last unit, that difference is known as marginal efficiency of capital. The marginal efficiency of that kind of capital whose marginal efficiency is the largest is the marginal efficiency of capital as a whole. So, if the last unit which gives you the best, then you stop at that. If it is not going to give you in producing another unit, then you would not like to invest that capital. We now come to the rate of interest as what the investment, as it increases, the marginal efficiency of capital falls. So, as more and more investment takes place, the marginal, if you remember, in utility also we had studied the diminishing marginal utility. Similar fashion, as more and more units of capital are invested, the marginal efficiency of that capital, that also starts falling. Current investment is determined by the amount of investment that will push the marginal efficiency of capital down to the rate of interest. At equilibrium, the marginal efficiency of capital is equal to the rate of interest. So, now he has equated the marginal efficiency of capital to the rate of interest. So, that is the equilibrium position where you have the least the marginal unit, the marginal efficiency which is giving you some reward is equal to the rate of interest, below which you would not like to invest at all. Keynes makes clear that the rate of interest is independent from the marginal efficiency of capital, in contrast with the neoclassical theories that determine the rate of interest by the productivity of capital. So, what the neoclassicals had said was that if capital is giving more, if capital is productive, rate of interest will go high. But what Keynes said is it is independent, because when you are investing one after another, the marginal efficiency of capital starts declining. Hence, even if the rate of interest is high or low at that time, you would not like to invest, because the returns that you are going to get is much less than the cost of purchasing that amount of asset. The marginal efficiency of investment is thus the relationship between interest and investment that tells us for each respective interest rate the amount of investment that can be undertaken profitably. So, this is in short the whole idea of marginal efficiency of investment. But you must always remember, students, that Keynes has also said other things being equal. In earlier chapters, in earlier episodes, we had discussed ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus is the Latin word which means other things being equal, which means that other things are not influencing capital. Other things like changes in your taste, your preference, your related things, these are not influencing investment, and only capital or the rate of interest is influencing. Hence, he says that even if or the rate of return which is influencing my investment. So, rate of interest is also not taken into account. So, ceteris paribus means where other things are all equal, then only what is the rate of return on the capital or investment that I am making, that is going to give me the decision, the power to invest. Since businessmen are rational profit seekers, we assume that they are rational human beings, they will invest in just those projects and only those products that are profitable at a given rate of interest. In general, there will be an inverse relationship. Higher the interest rate, less will be the investment. The idea of marginal efficiency of investment and inverse relationship are illustrated in the following example. Imagine a very small economy in which there are only 5 investments taking place. The following table, if you go into the next slide, we will see there are 4 columns. The first column we have the project, the second is the investment cost, that is the supply price total immediately, what is the cost of that investment. The third column gives you the rate of return, what you are going to get from that. That means the interest rate should be very low, then only you would like to invest, and the last column gives you total investment. The 5 investments, number 1 is the shoe factory, which has an investment cost of 10 lakhs. Then you have an internal rate of return which is 12%, and total investment is also 10 lakhs. And then you have a bottling plant which is 12 lakh, 10% and 22 lakhs. Distillery which is 8 lakhs, 9% and 30 lakhs. Hydro plant 20 lakhs, 5% rate of return and 50 lakhs. Then subway system which is 900 lakhs, 1% rate of internal rate of return, and then you have 950 lakhs which is the total investment. What Keynes has said is that in the second column it shows the amount invested in each project separately. The third column shows the rate of interest at which the project will break even, that means the cost is equals to the return, and the last shows the total investment or running cost of the project. Now, the third column is most important, in which you have the project which is break even. What we see is that lower the rate of interest or interest rate, the more of the projects can be profitably undertaken. So, the more total investment we see in the last column. So, if the rate of interest 12%, where you are not getting any returns at all on it, the cost is also similar, then your total investment will also be the same. But if you are getting some return because the rate of interest is low, then your total investment profitability that will be much higher. The last 2 columns taken together define the marginal efficiency of investment for this small economy. So, this is a very hypothetical case, a very hypothetical example in which one can see how the marginal efficiency of investment has a major role to play when investments are taking place. The next idea or the concept which Keynes gave was on wages and how wages and spending are taking place. In the coming back to the Great Depression, the classical theory defined economic collapse as simply lost incentive to produce. So, the classicals did not have any idea of what happens if there is depression. Mass unemployment was caused only by high and rigid real wages. Wages are rigid and very high, then there will be unemployment, because you are giving so much wages to some people only, the rest you can, there is no money left, no wages left for others to get. But if you lower the wages, then more can be employed, hence there will be no unemployment. To Keynes, the determination of wages is more complicated than this. So, the classical theory was refuted and Keynes said it is not correct, and wages is not so simple that if you reduce wages more can be employed, but if you reduce wages people will not like to get your wages reduced. How can you reduce wages? So, Keynes gave a different solution. First, he argued that it is not real, but nominal wages that are set in negotiations between employers and workers, as opposed to a barter relationship. So, nominal wages are the money wages which are actually fixed between employer and employee. If I want my wages to increase from 100 to 200, that is the money wage increase. But if the prices are also increasing, if they have doubled, then what increase do I get in wages? Nothing. I remain at the same level. Now, this is what Keynesian has shown. Keynes also gave the concept of wage rigidity, in which he said the collective wage bargaining process is seen to prevent wages from adjusting instantaneously, and hence it creates a wage rigidity. Because collective bargaining is there, because trade unions are there, there is wage rigidity taking place, and wages cannot fluctuate, cannot keep changing on its own. Therefore, rigidities and frictions in the labor market might be crucial for understanding the sluggishness in the firms. That means, firms are not operating well, marginal cost and their price setting behavior. Rigid real wages contribute to explaining persistent inflation. So, because there is real wages which are rigid, which are not changing, they are the cause for persistent inflation taking place in the economy. In the Keynesian framework, there is inherent tendency for level of income to settle at less than full employment. So, Keynes said, because there is misallocation of resources, because the allocation resources are not utilized fully, there is unemployment taking place in the economy, and full employment is never achieved. Thus, with rising income and consumption leads to wider gap between expected income and the income generated by consumption activities. In the Keynesian analysis, consumption and investment decisions are based on motives, as we saw earlier, transaction, precautionary and speculative. For Keynes, economy slides less than full employment. Number 2, level of employment cannot be pushed up by increasing aggregate demand for consumption goods. So, just by creating aggregate demand for consumption goods, it cannot increase employment unless investment is made. Just by increasing consumption, you do not get that. What Keynes said was public investments have to take place. So, to achieve higher level of employment, investment has to increase either by encouraging private investments to increase or undertaking public investment programs like infrastructure, social sector works, etc. Private investments can increase only through reducing the rate of interest and giving fiscal incentives like tax benefits, subsidies to the private investors. Hence, public investment is then the only alternative. In this episode, students, we have seen Keynesian's ideas on the after liquidity, the liquidity trap that one gets into, and then the marginal efficiency of capital, or more popularly known as marginal efficiency of investment, which depends on the return on the investment done rather than on the rate of interest. Even if the rate of interest is low, the investors will not take money, borrow money, if he is not going to get any return on the capital that he is going to invest. Keynes also said that private investment cannot be asked to come forward, and in times of depression, if you have to increase employment, only public investment on infrastructure, on building roads, on social sector, then only employment can be generated and income can be formed. Thank you.